Hey everyone, have you been hunting for a telescope that actually delivers crisp, bright deep space shots without breaking the bank? I know I was, and after a ton of research, I landed on the Sky-Watcher HAC 125DX Astrograph. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, this thing is built for astrophotography, not just stargazing. The Honders Advanced Catadioptric design gives you a super fast f/2 focal ratio, which means you're capturing way more light in a fraction of the time compared to slower scopes. If you've ever tried imaging galaxies or nebulae with a slower telescope, you know how long those exposures can take. With the 125DX, you're cutting that time way down, so you spend less time waiting and more time actually shooting. The 250mm focal length is another game changer. It's wide enough to capture big objects like the Andromeda Galaxy or the North America Nebula in one frame, but still detailed enough to pull out smaller structures. I've used it to image the Veil Nebula, and the clarity was impressive for a scope this size. Plus, the 5-inch aperture lets in a ton of light, so even faint deep space objects come through bright and clear. Now, let's talk about the build. The radiant aluminum quartz mirror coatings are a nice touch. They help with contrast and reduce stray light, which is crucial when you're trying to pull out faint details in a nebula. The scope is also made from high-quality aluminum, so it feels solid without being overly heavy. I've taken it out to my backyard multiple times, and it's easy to set up and align, which is a huge plus if you're like me and don't want to spend hours fussing with collimation before every session. One thing I really appreciate is how well it pairs with auto-guiding setups. The dual-speed focuser is smooth and precise, which is exactly what you need when you're trying to nail focus on a distant galaxy. I've used it with a guide scope and a ZWO ASI camera, and the tracking was spot on. No need for expensive upgrades here, this scope just works right out of the box. Another practical benefit is the versatility. While it's designed for astrophotography, it's still a decent visual scope if you want to take a quick peek at planets or the moon. The wide field of view makes it great for sweeping through the Milky Way or scanning for comets. I've even used it to capture wide-field shots of star clusters, and the results were surprisingly good. Now, I won't sugarcoat it, there are a couple of things to keep in mind. First, the focuser is 2-inch, which is fine for most astrophotography setups, but if you're used to 1.25-inch eyepieces, you might need an adapter. Also, while the scope is sturdy, it's not exactly lightweight. If you're planning to travel with it, you'll want a good carrying case or a sturdy mount to handle the weight. It's not a backpacking scope, but it's not overly cumbersome either. The pros definitely outweigh the cons for me. The fast f/2 focal ratio saves so much time on exposures, the build quality is top-notch, and the wide field of view makes it versatile for different types of imaging. The only real downsides are the focuser size and the weight, but those are minor compared to what you get. If you're serious about deep space astrophotography and want a scope that delivers without breaking the bank, the Sky-Watcher HAC 125DX is worth every penny. Check it out using the link below, it's the real deal. For most buyers, the real question is not whether Sky-Watcher HAC 125DX Astrograph Honders Advanced Catadioptric design for ultrafast f/2, bright, wide-field imaging of deep space objects, white, S11250, sounds impressive on paper, but whether strengths like Honders Advanced Catadioptric optical design and radiant aluminum quartz, HAC, mirror coatings actually make daily use feel easier, more dependable, and more worthwhile after the first few days of excitement wear off. It is also smart to think about long-term satisfaction. A product like Sky-Watcher HAC 125DX Astrograph Honders Advanced Catadioptric design for ultrafast f/2, bright, wide-field imaging of deep space objects, white, S11250, usually feels like the better buy when it stays convenient, comfortable, and reliable in normal everyday use instead of only looking good in the listing.